Welcome back. I'm Austin Westfall. Well, the drone drama in the New York City area is deepening. In recent weeks, several sightings of mysterious drones have been reported in parts of New Jersey and in New York. Sightings have been reported from down the Jersey Shore all the way up to Sussex County, and we heard from officials in New York today as well. Staten Island lawmakers today demanding action from the NYPD and the FBI. What, you might ask, could possibly be going on here? Retired Marine Intelligence Officer and National Security Analyst Hal Kempfer is here. Hal, as always, it's good to see you. You've been staring at these images, just like we have, I'm sure, for the past couple of nights here. If we get to the bottom of this, Hal, do you feel like the truth will calm people's nerves or rattle them? What's your gut telling you?
Once people do find out what's going on, it's going to, I think it's not going to be, it's going to be something. I'm not going to say it's going to be nothing. It's going to be something. But I think people will be calm to a certain degree. There's a lot of things this could be. You know, you've heard there's one congressman out of New Jersey. He says there's an Iranian drone carrier sitting off the coast. Well, for most, they hear that and they go, there's Iranian drone carriers? Yes, there actually are. The Iran actually has converted some ships over to launching and recovering drones. Those are nowhere near the United States, let alone the East Coast. They're all around Iran, and they don't work very well. But the Iranians do have things like that. So that wasn't completely made out of whole cloth, except for the fact that geographically it was on the wrong side of the planet. But it was an interesting discussion. Could they be state sponsored? Could they be state actors that are doing this? It's possible, but this is the thing. They're all okay. They're seeing them all over New Jersey. All right. And they're seeing them over Pennsylvania. They're seeing them over Maryland. They're seeing them over New York. So they're seeing them all around the Eastern Seaboard. They're seeing them all over the West Coast, where we've got reports down in Southern California, Central Coast, Northern California. They're seeing them all over. They're seeing them over in England, flying near Air Force bases. They're seeing them over in Europe on the mainland. I think Germany had a report of drones that they couldn't account for. So first off, if they're state actors, they have got one incredibly large covert network around the world of people who know how to fly drones. And I just don't think that's mathematically possible that that could happen. All right. So I'm a little dubious about that. Now, what I do think is there are a lot of people who do just, it's dumb stuff. All right. And drones are easy to get. So there could be a lot of drone operators out there who are just, something online where they're talking about it. And this is where I think the FBI will eventually find it, or CISA is going to find it, one of the two. CISA being the cybersecurity side of the Department of Homeland Security. They may find communications between individuals talking about doing something like this where they fly a lot of drones. And this would be the difference between a drone swarm, where something singular control, and a drone flock, where you have a number of operators that might be operating drones in a kind of coordinated manner, if you will. I think what you're seeing is a lot of flocking going on, where you have these drones flying out there. And by the way, it doesn't take a lot of drones to cause a surge of reports. I think many of these reports are people seeing the exact same drone, just at different locations. Then I would also point out something else, which is, this is true, that a number of these things they've been going through, and John Kirby, the spokesman for the National Security Council, has said they've looked at a lot of these things, and people are actually seeing manned aircraft, whether they're helicopter, fixed wing. One of the things when you see this right here is and this is true at night. And trust me, I've done a lot of stuff at night where you're trying to figure out what's in the sky. Distance is very difficult to judge at night. The other thing is hearing. Okay, you hear a buzz noise or something like a drone. You see something like that out there and you think, oh, you immediately put it into your reference points for the day, when there's a lot of other ambient noise that's out there that drowns it out. So what happens at night when it's a lot quieter, and there are certain atmospheric effects too, which allows sound to travel much further, is you may hear something much further out that will sound like it's much closer. And because it's night and it's lit up, you're seeing something on the horizon. You can't really judge distance. So your brain is trying to correlate the sound with what you're seeing. So you may think that something is hovering over a tree when in fact it could be something many miles away, several miles away that you're seeing. And now your brain is filling in the details. You think it's a drone. It could be an aircraft. It could be, you could be not hearing the drone thing, or you hear something else. You think it's that noise for a
Right.
drone. So there's a lot of that mental, psychological thing that's going on as well.
So, of course, Staten Island officials, I'm sure you saw this, today they held a press conference. They were pleading for more transparency in order to calm the situation down. One of their main points today is that communication breeds confidence. But Hal, why might communication not be the easiest path here? If we're dealing with information that could be communicated, why might it not be communicated?
Well, communication breeds confidence, certain degree of transparency. Of course, when you get up and you can constantly communicate, we have no idea what it is. That doesn't make people feel very confident because they like to think that our law enforcement authorities, like the FBI and certainly state and local authorities, and things like the Department of Defense and other these large government agencies could figure this out. And bottom line is, at the end of the day, every press conference kind of ends the same: with they've explained a number of things, but they can't explain the whole thing. And that's got people very concerned. And every day this goes on without an explanation, it's making people more and more concerned, which is how vulnerable are we? And I mean, I don't want to go back too much into a paradigm, but you have to remember this is aviation. This is a threat that's coming from the sky. If you want to go back to a threat that came from the sky that just thundershook the country and the world, go back to 9/11. That was also something where they basically there was confidence that we had it handled, and then 9/11 hit, and of course that caused a huge change in security, but a massive shift in terms of security with aviation. And so I think that's one of the things, one of the, if you will, the thematic things in the background that's playing on this is people are looking at the sky and they're feeling nervous again that we don't have a handle on what's out there, and we don't know. Now, I do think that we're going to figure this out at some point. There was a report today that one of the drones had crashed, and they were hoping they could go out and find the drone and get some forensic evidence and stuff. I'm really actually surprised at the amount of reported drone activity that one has not crashed at this point. There's certainly enough power lines and everything out there that people flying drones at night. And I'm not claiming to be the expert on all this stuff, but I will tell you that there's a reason why they tell drone operators, please don't fly those things at night, because they tend to run into stuff. So we'll find out. I mean, at some point, one's going to crash, and I think at some point here, they're going to obviously pick up on the signals. There's probably a lot going on that they can't talk about, where they're looking at the electromagnetic spectrum to figure out who's controlling these drones and where are they coming from. And they're gonna find a drone operator or a drone or both, and then all of a sudden, I think things will become a little bit clearer as to what's going on.
Let's pull up this post from Larry Hogan. He's the former governor of Maryland. He says last night, and it's long, so I'll read a little bit more. It gets cut off on screen, but I'll read a little bit more of it. It starts, last night, beginning at around 9:45 p.m., I personally witnessed and videoed what appeared to be dozens of large drones in the sky above my residence in Davidsonville, Maryland. That's 25 miles from our nation's capital. I observed the activity for approximately 45 minutes. Like many who have observed these drones, I do not know if this increasing activity over our skies is a threat to public safety or national security, but the public is growing increasingly concerned and frustrated with the complete lack of transparency and the dismissive attitude of the federal government. He continues, the government has the ability to track these from their point of origin, but they've mounted a negligent response. So Hal, I keep seeing things like this, and I keep seeing the word mystery everywhere. What are the chances that this is actually a mystery to everyone involved in patrolling our northeastern airspace? In your opinion, does someone somewhere have to know something?
Well, I don't know if they do. I take a difference with what Larry Hogan said there. He says we can track all the stuff. We can track a lot of stuff. All right. So when the Pentagon comes out and says, hey, we can tell you there's not an Iranian drone carrier sitting off the coast of New Jersey, I feel very confident that we have the ability to say that with absolute certainty. Yes, we know there isn't one. As far as launching and recovering drones, these are very small aircraft in many cases. They can be launched literally from the back of a truck, from someone's backyard, any place. And in an urban area, but also in a rural area where you have lots of trees and stuff, but particularly in an urban area, you have lots of things that mass. So if you're thinking you're going to pick them up on radar, if you're in an urban area and that thing's flying between the buildings, or if it's in an area like in the mountains where there's peaks and stuff, we're just not going to pick it up. It's not something you're going to see on radar. So this idea that we have this ubiquitous system that's going to pick up on all this extremely low flying aircraft in urban areas, or flying even around farms with trees and stuff like that, it's just you're defying physics to say that we can actually pick up on all that stuff. So he's not completely incorrect, but he may be a little bit overstating our ability to do that. So launching a drone, flying it over somebody's house, or even a series of drones. And by the way, that's something I should mention. With AI, with some of these capabilities we have, and some of the things with that have been done with drone swarming, one person could potentially launch a series of drones. So you're looking out there and you see these drones and they're all flying. It could be they're flying a number of drones. It's one controller with an AI enhanced capabilities that is actually controlling a number of different drones. And certainly that is disconcerting, and potentially it's a threat to manned aviation, like commercial airliners as they're flying in controlled airspace. That is a big concern. But that's probably what's going on out there. One thing I should mention though, everybody is getting a sense for something that those of us who've been working in the drone space or the homeland security space dealing with drones for some time, we have regulatory problems with drones, and we have surveillance monitoring problems with drones, and we have some huge policy issues on, once we detect a drone, what can or can't we do. So when they say here's, and I'll give you an example. If you say shoot down the drone, this has always been the problem, and someone did say that today that made national news, as you may recall. The problem is, once you start, if you bring down a drone kinetically, you have something that might potentially be a threat, but probably isn't. And at this point, none of these things have proven to be, threats to the ground in terms of creating damage or something like that. Potentially, sure, absolutely.
And
However,
Blumenthal, and I'll just point out how on the screen there, Senator Richard Blumenthal mentioned the idea of shooting them down. President-elect Trump, of course, today also alluded to the idea possibly of shooting them down. And there's Trump's statement: mystery drone sightings all over the country. Can this really be happening without our government's knowledge? He says, I don't think so. Let the public know, and now, otherwise, shoot them down. Donald J. Trump.
Yeah.
Hal, my final question for you, if you can put your journalistic cap on for a moment here. What questions do you have about all this?
The question I have is why are they doing it? Whoever it is, I really want to know why. That's my biggest question. I called a friend of mine, associate, I should say, that we've been working drones together for years, and the big question was why? What is the end state? What is the purpose? If there's something going on, it's coordinated, whether it's a state actor behind it, maybe acting nefariously or subversively in such a way that maybe they're controlling others, and they don't know they're being controlled to do something like this. Whether it's some sort of online grouping thing or a number of individuals doing it, which is very dangerous if they are, because there are enormous, once they're found out, there are enormous fines and implications for what's going on here. The question is why? What is the purpose of this? And that's what makes me that's what makes me nervous, but it also makes me the most curious, which is, what is the intended end state? What do they want to accomplish by doing something like this?
Leave it there for now, Hal. Have a good weekend. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Austin.